My name is Angela Dowd Burton. I'm Executive Director of the Office of Economic Opportunity for the City of Philadelphia, and I want to welcome you to the Mayor's Press Conference announcing the release of the Fiscal Year 2014 Annual Report for the Office of Economic Opportunity. This is the first day of spring. Who knew? We deliberately picked this day because we wanted to celebrate a new season, a new vibrancy in the business community, and just like the unpredictability of business, you know, you deal with the hand you're dealt, right? And so I just want to thank all of you for being here today. So with that, and before I start the program, I just wanted to acknowledge the leadership of PRWT for opening your doors to us this morning. We're very pleased to be here. And for those of you who don't know, PRWT stands for People Really Working Together. And you're going to hear more about their history in a moment, but that's why we chose this location for today. So today's press conference is about honoring the past. It's about acknowledging the present. And undoubtedly, we have made some progress. But it's also about sharing a collective vision of the future and the work that still needs to get done. OEO and its predecessors, the Minority Business Enterprise Council, referred to as MBEC, has stood at the intersection of public policy and private sector profitability for over 30 years. Today, Mayor Nutter will report on the journey and our progress in directing the socioeconomic traffic and the redistribution of economic justice. I will share with you a few brief highlights of the fiscal year 2014 annual report and summary of economic opportunity plans, and our great chambers representatives, the leaders of each chamber, will be presenting to you businesses that have adapted over time and reinvented their vision to maintain their competitive advantage in the local, national, and international markets. After we have an opportunity to hear from the businesses, we will open the floor for questions. So without further ado, please welcome the man with the strategy that compelled me to come back to city government 5 years ago. Mr. Mayor, March 15th was 5 years ago. Yes. Yes, I did. They had to go get him to have him tell me. But anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. And Mr. Mayor, Michael Nutter.
Good morning, everyone, and sorry to hold you up. Angela, thank you very, very much. And we were very, very fortunate to have you come back into city government. Your great service in the city many, many years ago, and then, of course, in the private sector. But it was clear to us the person that we needed. You've given the direction and the focus, the commitment, and the tenacious attention to the issue that is needed. But I already knew what you were going to be able to do. So please recognize Angela Dowd Burton, our great director of Office of Economic Opportunity. Alan Greenberger is our deputy mayor for economic development. He and his chief of staff, Luke Butler, and a number of folks from the Commerce Department are here. Please recognize them and work that they're doing. Malik Majid, thank you. As Angela mentioned, our host here at PRWT, and certainly recognize the great work of this company, but also certainly the great legacy of leadership that people like Willie Johnson and Harold Epps are providing, and so many, many others. So let's give it up for our host for having us. Thank you. As Angela mentioned, we get the wonderful opportunity to work with a number of business and chamber leaders. I need to just recognize a few folks. On the chamber side, certainly Shalimar Thomas, Executive Director, African American Chamber, Varsovia Fernandez, President and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber, Nick Shenoy, longtime good friend, President and CEO of the Asian American Chamber, and Mike Pearson, Vice Chair of Diversity, Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce, and of course, President of Union Packaging, LLC. Please recognize these business leaders. And business folks, of course, in their own right, longtime friend and supporter, the one, the only, the incomparable, Donna Ali. Please recognize Donna. Manuel Trujillo, President, Swain Tex, Monique Aurora, CEO, Aurora Engineers, and Julie Copeland, President and CEO of Arbill. Please recognize these leaders. Our great partners, because you need partners to get this work done, our great partners in economic inclusion, the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, the Women's Business Enterprise Council, the Pennsylvania Unified Certification Agency, members of the OEO Advisory Board, and certainly the Mayor's Commission on Construction Industry Diversity. Please recognize them as well. We have one of our many elected leaders who really care about these issues, who are focused on these issues, and we had the occasion to serve together in City Council. I watch some of the hearings from time to time. I am so grateful that I'm not at the table on some of those days when the questions are flying here and there, and I just say, ouch, wow. But Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds-Brown cares about people, cares about children, cares about business, and wants to make sure that folks have that opportunity, which they should have. In a city that celebrates diversity, like the city of Philadelphia, you need leaders who are focused and committed, who know about the world of business and know that if you push hard, you will certainly make results. And if you don't push hard, the natural inclination of big agencies, big organizations, government or private sector, is to pretty much just keep doing what you've been doing, because quite frankly, it's just a whole lot easier to do that. People in Philadelphia, of course, as you've heard me say on a few occasions, people in Philly love change. They embrace change, and then they just strangle the hell out of it. And so as long as things can stay the same, people love change here in this town. Please recognize Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds-Brown. And so we're talking about 35 years of actual focus by this city government on one of the most important issues and challenges facing the city, certainly our region, our state, and the United States of America. And that is the issue of ensuring that minorities and women and disabled business owners have true economic opportunity to engage in business with their government. And the city's our economic inclusion program has grown and changed over those 35 years, but we've remained, in my view, consistent and steadfast in our goal of increasing minority participation on contracts with the city, as well as the incredible wealth of opportunities for contracts and contractors in the city. And so, we're a pretty big place, but, we don't have all the money in the world. But there are other business entities out there, for-profit and large nonprofits, who spend a lot of money. We want to make sure that those opportunities present themselves as well. For the last 5 years, and happy 5th year anniversary coming back, Angela Dow-Burden has been the Executive Director of the Office of Economic Opportunity. She's been at the helm of these efforts, and under her watch, OEO has made a tremendous impact on the business climate here in Philadelphia. You hear more about the results of her office's work, and Angela will be back to the podium in a second. But I want to talk a little bit about the journey the city has taken to get where we are today. Again, many of you I know here in this room, and I'm all about context. Things don't just happen out of nowhere. We just didn't all arrive. They were great and wonderful, successful people that from day to day we think we are. We do stand on the shoulders of other people. We've learned many, many things from others and then get to apply them ourselves. 35 years ago, in 1980, minority and female business owners had a meager share of city contracts. A study conducted by Dr. Edward Robinson, a great champion and leader here in this city, found that minority businesses were awarded less than 1% of all city contracts. not 1%, less than 1%, 35 years ago. In response to that terrible status quo, a small group of Philadelphians got together and formed the Brain Trust, a minority business action group. One of those founders and leaders is here with us today. I was looking for one other that I know. But John, you need to raise your hand and be recognized for the great, great work that you've done over a long, long period of time. Thank you. The other person is Beverly Harper. Spearheaded efforts on the private sector side in an effort to guarantee minorities and women-owned businesses a larger share of city contracts. Now, I will digress from my prepared remarks for a second, which of course makes a lot of people nervous. In the very early 80s, when I first started coming to City Council to see what that place was about, no one knew who I was. I was not in office, hadn't run for office. I sat in the back seats in the council chamber while there was a hearing going on about these issues. Beverly Harper was at the witness table. I was transfixed on what was going on in that place. Beverly happened to be a friend of the late Councilman John Anderson, and I got to meet her. And it's been her work and her focus and her efforts that have stayed with me the longest and kept me focused on what I needed to be doing, first as a city council member and certainly now as the mayor of the city. Beverly is a great champion for business in Philadelphia. Please, even in her absence, please recognize her. As a result of many meetings and discussions, and eventually legislation, was introduced by the late Councilman Lucian E. Blackwell, amended the Philadelphia Code to provide regulations and guidelines to ensure that minority, women, and disabled-owned business owners and entrepreneurs are afforded equal access and opportunity to compete for and secure contracts with the City of Philadelphia. Now, my memory is that that legislation came in late 1983, which I believe was vetoed by the then mayor, overridden by City Council, and subsequently we had a change in administrations because it was 83 going into 84, and of course the new mayor, W. Wilson Good Sr., came into office. The Minority Business Enterprise Council was started up shortly after that by Mayor Good and set the ambitious but necessary goal of a 25% minority participation in city contracts. And for the ensuing years, MBEC provided a variety of services and efforts to increase minority participation. Between 1984 and 1990, the city tested a model utilizing sheltered markets in which only minority and women-owned businesses who were certified were permitted to bid on certain contracts. In 1990, however, a judge determined that that model was not allowed by law. Also in the early days, professional services contracts were exempt from the process. Today, professional services make up 57% of the city's annual expenses and provide expanding opportunities for minority and female-owned businesses. In fact, minority participation in professional services contracts was at 36% for FY14. MBEC was also in the business of business certification for many, many years. This was necessary, certainly in the beginning, when other certifying agencies were scarce, but over time the market grew, allowing the MBEC to assume a different core function. When I became mayor in 2008, the team developed a strategic plan to continue and expand those efforts, and that plan is called Inclusion Works. Inclusion Works recommended a series of concrete steps that the city could take to create a better, faster, and smarter economic opportunity initiative to increase the ability of Philadelphia's MWDSBEs to take advantage of markets in the city, the region, and beyond. The Office of Economic Opportunity, OEO, was established, replacing MBEC. OEO moved from the Department of Finance to the Department of Commerce in order to better coordinate with other business development resources that the city already provides. We also created the Economic Opportunity Cabinet. The group includes, of course, me, the Deputy Mayor for Economic Opportunity, and other members of our senior executive team all across the city government. We meet quarterly to provide strategic direction on inclusion efforts and lead inclusion participation efforts within each of our city departments. And so my view was the direction, of course, has to come from the top. To have a variety of discussions with all of our city leaders and their respective departments and agencies, deputy mayors and other high-ranking officials, and ultimately make sure that in the department there is someone who is focused on these issues in ways that we have not done before. Since the development of Inclusion Works, OEO has continued to innovate and grow its services for local businesses. They've expanded the Doing Business with the City workshops to include major institutions in Philadelphia, such as the University of Pennsylvania, Temple, Drexel, and many others. And they've also transitioned to a more modern online payment system that allows the city to monitor and enforce timely payments for prime contractors to subcontractors. If you do the work, you want to get paid. You're not running a charity or a banking operation to float money for the prime. When they got paid, then we want to ensure that you're getting paid right after that. As a result of this modernizing and restructuring, our minority, female and business community has received $1.59 billion in city contract dollars between 2008 and 2014. Minority participation in city contracts has averaged over the last few years 28%. These are just snapshots of the accomplishments that OEO has realized over the last 7 years, receiving numerous awards for best practices, performance, and technology innovations along the way. Today, 35 years later, Philadelphia's marketplace looks pretty much nothing like it did in 1980, and that's thanks to the hard work of the Office of Economic Opportunity and all of you, keeping our feet to the fire, as you should, as well as the work of its predecessor, of course, MBEC, laid the groundwork for today's success. We've accomplished a lot, but our work is not done, and we remain dedicated to pushing the bar even higher. We decided now that the 25% participation rate established in 1980 is no longer good enough. And so beginning in fiscal year 2015, our administration decided to increase the city's goal to 30% minority participation. Presently, we're not far away from achieving this goal, and I believe that we will, in fact, in the course of FY15, reach that goal, maintain it, and then continue to push the envelope. And so let me ask Angela to come back. She's going to talk more about the FY14 OEO annual report. But to all of you, maintain your focus, maintain your commitment, continue to press on the city government. This is about inclusion. It's not just a nice thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's the necessary thing to do. And in a city like Philadelphia, there's no reason that we cannot continue to raise those numbers, create economic opportunity, put people to work, and ultimately create a tax base that supports what I view, of course, is the #1 issue here in the city of Philadelphia, which is educating children. When we educate our kids, they're your new and next employees. When we educate our kids, they're less likely to find themselves in negative situations, either as a victim or a perpetrator. When we educate our kids and give them summer job opportunities and year-round job opportunities, they are that much more ready for the world of work to be able to take care of themselves and then go out and start their own businesses like so many of you have done to make Philadelphia a great economic opportunity city for the country. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so I think the mayor sort of captured a lot of the essence of the annual report, but I'm just going to tie into a couple of facts for you. But go back for a minute and imagine less than 1% of the city contracts going to minority and women-owned businesses and how those businesses sustained themselves during that period of time. This year's annual report for fiscal year 2014 is 2 volumes. 2 volumes, 200 pages. A lot of detail. It's what I call market intelligence for those companies interested in doing business with the city. The volume 1 is the traditional participation report. It sort of reports on over 2,000 contracts awarded by the city It's segmented by operating department. It identifies all of the minorities, all of the majority firms, and all of the women-owned businesses who were awarded contracts. The second volume really summarizes and tracks 642 public works projects. These are projects that are around the city where you see the cranes going up. It's from the FMC to the EVO to the Comcast to the University of Penn, Drexel, and Temple. And so those projects, we're tracking not only the commitments that are made by the primes, but also the dollars that are paid to the minority and women-owned businesses on those projects. So I want to sort of give you an idea of what they both look like. These reports are online right now, and you'll note the cover sheets for both of the projects are really provocative because they talk about the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish in the city of Philadelphia. So I'll let you go online and see if you can guess why the covers are what they are. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is in fiscal year 14, we awarded $266.5 million to minority and women-owned business. $266 million compared to $243 million the year before. The participation level for fiscal year 14 is at 29.4% compared to the 25% commitment that we were targeting initially. 59% of all of the contracts, dollar value that were awarded to minority and women-owned businesses, 59% went to minority-owned businesses and 41% to women. One of the numbers I'm very proud of is the number and the percentage of contracts that were awarded to these organizations, the enterprises. 42% of the contracts that were awarded were to minorities and women who bid it and won contracts as primes. And so, you know, historically, the target was, how can we be a subcontractor on a project? The goal line is for you to take the leadership role. And so we're tracking that number, and we're hoping that number continues to rise and the size and dollar value of those contracts continue to go up. So what contributes to the progress that we're making? A couple of different things. Number one, the mayor talked about the increase in the OEO registry of companies. We're up 72% over 5 years ago. And thanks again to the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and the Pennsylvania Unified Certification organizations that are sending us the stream of minority and women-owned businesses. The second major contribution is the OEO team, my staff, and they're in the back, and they can raise their hand. You can take a look around and see them. But the OEO team and the OEO officers in the different operating departments, and those officers have other jobs, but they have the mission and the spirit of OEO. They collaborate on the stretch goals that are assigned to contracts that are put in the marketplace. And then finally, the third major factor is the progress that we're making on developing relationships and networks with many of you in the room. We have business advocates and capacity building programs and outreach initiatives that are scanning the market for those companies that are ready, willing, and able to do business with the city. And so we thank you for participating in that. The summary of economic opportunity plans, those 642 projects that we're tracking around the city, they represent $3.5 billion in construction projects. And to date, from 2009 through 2014, we've tracked $981 million that have gone to minority and women-owned businesses, and you can read more about that. So what I want to do now is just talk for a bit, since I've saturated you with a few numbers. I want to talk about the reality behind the numbers. This is why we have the chambers represented here today. This is why we have companies who actually breathe life in the numbers here to speak to you today. In essence, the fiscal year 14 annual report measures the sheer will and tenacity of business leaders who just happen to be minorities and women. They lead with their business acumen and their ability to build credible business relationships. And so first I'd like to introduce you to a gentleman who is our guest, our host for today, Mr. Malik Majid, President of PRWT.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to welcome you to our corporate offices here in Philadelphia at PRWT and tell you we're excited about participating in this event today. Give you a little bit of background on PRWT. PRWT is a nationally recognized minority-owned business. We've been in existence for more than 27 years. And to borrow, not steal, from our mayor, inclusion works. After 27 years of being in business, we know inclusion works. We provide business process outsourcing solutions. We also provide through our wholly owned subsidiary U.S. facilities management and infrastructure support solutions. So we've been in business for a while, and we plan on staying in business for another 27 more years at least, right? So let's talk a little bit about inclusion. PRWT, the model of PRWT was really built by Willie Johnson, and a lot of you, I'm sure, know Willie Johnson. He has a community service background. He came from the city himself. His model was built based on welfare to work. That's really how our company was started. Some of my former colleagues are here. They now run their own businesses, like Chet. I'd like to recognize Chet as a longtime colleague and friend who's also here, former PRWT employee. But Willie started this culture 27 years ago, and at the time it was an employee to employer or employer to employee culture where we were bringing in individuals, moving them off of what I'll call the welfare rolls to work. Over time, it has evolved from an employer to employee perspective to a business to business perspective. So what do I mean? We do it through alliances. Alliances, when I say alliances, I'm talking about really two simple things. Mentoring programs. We have people, our senior management team, we've been willing and able to mentor folks over the past 27 years to be a sounding board, to make introductions, just to get to know other minority and disadvantaged or disabled business owners. We've worked well with them, and it was our model that that's how we're going to continue to grow and prosper, both as PRWT and in the community at large. The other model is, simply put, contractual. And when I say contractual, that's in terms of we contract directly with minority-owned businesses. We do it from the standpoint of procurement. So we will have a minority-owned business provide us with supplies that we need from a day-to-day perspective, from paper through desk, that keep our operation going, up to and including having our minority colleagues or alliance partners provide us with services. So when we go out and contract with other businesses, we bring in other minority businesses to up under us as subcontractors so that they can perform services and so they can continue to grow while we grow. Some of them are here. We have Don Ali from Team Clean. We also work with Scotland Yard. We also work with Chet and Alpha Office Supplies and others. But our model is inclusive, and we found that really to be the basis for our success, the basis for our national footprint, and the basis for which we're going to continue to grow. Again, Mayor Nutter, thank you for being here. It is all about inclusion. We know at the end of the day, if it wasn't for the city of Philadelphia, and if it wasn't for other cities around the country who've decided that inclusion is important, we wouldn't have evolved to where we've evolved to today. And since I only have like 2 minutes, that's really all I have to add. Thank you.
Is it afternoon yet? Good morning. My name is Shalimar Thomas. I'm the Executive Director for the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Thank you, Angela, for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I'm very excited to introduce this fantastic woman who already had received a numerous amount of shout-outs, I'll say, to the mic. Donna Ali was originally unable to find employment in her chosen field after college graduation. Ali was a single parent who was determined to find a way to support herself and her child. She had accompanied a friend on a job to clean a house and realized that there was excellent income potential in cleaning houses. She answered newspaper advertisements for cleaning ladies and began cleaning homes throughout Philadelphia's suburban line. Today, Team Clean now serves a variety of clients in government, education, industry, professional offices, and sports and entertainment venues and events. Among the highlights of Team Clean Incorporated's growth are clients such as the 2000 Republican National Convention in Philadelphia, the landmark National Constitution Center, the Pennsylvania Convention Center, and Citizens Bank Park, home of the Philadelphia Phillies. So because I also have 2 minutes, I'm going to take the time and say, welcome, Donna Ali.
So, hello everyone, and thank you, Shalimar. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to say that I am truly, truly grateful for OEO and the opportunities that it has provided for my company. And just like you heard Shalimar say, over 25 years ago, 25 years, I started out with a mop, a bucket, and a broom. I had no idea how to run a business, but today, with the assistance of OEO, City of Philadelphia, Public Property, U.S. Facilities, PRWT, advocates like the African American Chamber of Commerce, the CEO Access Network Program, members of City Council, our great mayor who insisted on inclusion. We were able to grow our company today to one of the largest minority and woman-owned businesses in the region with over 714 employees and $17 million in sales from a mop, a boom, and a bucket. So there were many involved in this struggle, and most importantly, the hard-working men and women of Team Clean, some who have, fallen down and, made various wrong choices in their life. But guess what? They're able to get themselves back up, and we're able to provide an opportunity for them. So this program, as it was NBEC years ago, now OEO, I gotta get used to that, OEO. Okay, so it was designed to learn, how to operate in business, whether it be from subcontracting opportunities or educational programs. But let me tell you, Team Clean, and the mayor can attest to this, took every single advantage of the opportunity. And guess what? The system worked. Today, we have over $5 million in contracts as a prime with the City of Philadelphia Public Property.
All right.
The Pennsylvania Convention Center, I got to give a shout out to them. Y'all have been great, wonderful, and it's not easy. It's just not easy running a business when you don't look like mainstream America. Y'all know that. But I got to say that this city gets it. This mayor gets it. City council gets it. The leaders of the city of Philadelphia get it. And I just want to, again, thank OEO, Public Property, and everyone else for believing in the little engine that could. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Donna, for serving as one of those shoulders of giants where we stand today. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Willie Johnson, whom I adore. My first experience with PRWT was actually learning about their Welfare to Work program, the reason why we all can park, easily in Philadelphia is because of the work of PRWT and the people that came to provide customer service and worked very hard, people who look like us, actually, at PRWT. So thank you to all of you at PRWT for that. I am Varsovia Fernandez, and I am the CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And I want to thank you, Angela, for including us, and Mr. Mayor Nutter, thank you for including us in this process. I was one of those business owners that in the 90s got certified by the city and never received customer service. And today, a little bit over 13% of Latinos have secure contracts with the city of Philadelphia. You can read in detail in the reports. But the walls painted at the convention center, the bricks laid at Dilworth Plaza today, where our children are going to skate, were built or painted or laid by Latinos. And that is possible to us because of the work that the African American community has done. We do recognize that you have opened a lot of doors for us as Latinos. We don't have as hard of a fight as you do because of the work that you have done, and we are very grateful for that. It's an honor to be here to introduce Manny Trujillo, someone who really shouldn't need any introduction because he's been so engaged. But Manny is one of those immigrant stories that started in an attic in Princeton, and 18 years ago, and today he owns a multi-million-dollar company. Not much of a different story, although a different path than Mike Pearson, who has raised to be an incredible leader in our city as well. Manny is Colombian and graduated from Columbia University, I think, and he had the opportunity to do all that stuff as an immigrant. But Manny actually had a very small company that does IT, enterprise, and cybersecurity, and today, he's like 10 million today. He's doing US government. He'll tell you about that stuff, all those things. He's a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, which has been one of the shining stars that has given us all a push in the city in the last 2 years. And I'm going to let Manny tell you the story. And again, thank you for the opportunity, and to all of you. And this does not end here. We have to continue. The office is fixed. We need to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Varsovia, for the kind introduction. Also, thank you, Mayor and Angela, for your great leadership. It's an inspiration for all of us. It feels good, and all of you have done a lot of great work, and it feels like we are lifted with all these initiatives. I'm Manny Trujillo, president of Swintex. We were founded in 2009 and acquired the company 5 years ago after I bought my house and I got an SBA loan. We are an enterprise IT solution provider in the commercial side, thanks to Mike. Has been a loyal client for us over 2 years. He had trust, and we manage all the IT infrastructure for him, and it's a great client. And also, we help and work in the federal government, Department of Human Health Services, the Navy, doing enterprise IT, cybersecurity. We are located in Horsham, Pennsylvania, and we have 2 satellite offices in Washington. I briefly, also, one thing that we have worked, thanks for the inspiration here, is in process, and we have achieved ISO 9001 and CMMI Level 3 that has put us in a position where only 33 companies in the world have that combined CMMI Level 3 in software development and in services. So I briefly want to share with you my experience with the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business, and want to share the power of partnership. First, thanks to Varsovia. She's a salesperson. When I first say no to the Goldman Sachs, she didn't give up. She started mentioning the names Warren Buffett, Goldman, Babson College. I said, okay, let me think again. I did not have any time, as all of you as entrepreneurs, nobody has time. That's a given. But I'm very thankful for her, for that persuasion. Really helped me to learn the language of finance. I used to work in Motorola for almost 14 years. I did my MBA at Columbia. I still paying for it. But I was not using the tools. That tools helped me in Motorola. Great program. But in my small business, I was not applying. Goldman Sachs, they are the masters of simplicity. And in 3 months, they injected tools that I immediately started using right while I was doing the program. I was rejected 4 times. 4 times was rejected to get a loan, $300,000. No, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. Then I got $50,000. But then, next class in finance, model simulation, forecasting finance, I went to another bank, boom, 1.5 million. Right there in your hands, right there. Let me tell you, Goldman donated $500 million for 10,000 small businesses, the equivalent of $50,000 free for you. Basically, it's a Mercedes-Benz free for you. And then if you work it hard, you can go back to the community and make 10 Mercedes-Benz equivalents to the community. So I strongly recommend that program. Also, let me talk about the power of partnering. We have won no contract alone. All the contracts we win is with a partner. Why? Scalability, scalability, scalability. Learn to play the game. It's called the power of leverage. Like when you're trying to lift a big stone, you cannot do it with your hand, you use a big tool. Partners, trusted partners, are the key to scale up. That's why process for us is key, people is key, keeping the client happy is key, partners is a must. So with that, I strongly recommend you to take advantage of the city of Philadelphia called the City of Love. Really have been very welcome here, and do appreciate the welcoming that you have given us. And thank you very much.
Hi, I am Nick Shenoy, President and CEO of the Asian. Oh, that's me. President and CEO of Asian American Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank Mayor and Angela for keeping us in the loop. We are on the advisory committee. I'm here to introduce Manik Arora. Manik Arora is the President and CEO of the Arora Engineers. It's a design firm and located in Philadelphia. Also several satellite offices around the nation. He's a graduate from Drexel University, and he's a professional engineer by trade. Manik has been featured in Forbes magazine and also Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies for last 6 years. In the last 10 years, he's grown 1,400% in the business. He worked as an intern for City of Philadelphia in the airport. So now he's an engineer with his own company. And I know Manik since the early 90s, and I welcome him.
I've known Nick since he's a little kid, too. So. Aurora Engineers is a family-owned minority business. We started being part of the community from a diversity standpoint 28 years ago. So we've seen the migration, as Mayor Nutter has seen as well, and it's all been positive for our firm. We started 2 drafting boards in our basement at home until my mom kicked us out. And now we're over 100 people in 8 cities around the country. We design, construction manage, and facility manage aviation, education, and transportation infrastructure for the built environment. And to honor my father's legacy as a minority immigrant and our family's legacy coming here following him, Aurora is making a concerted effort to build capacity for M&W firms, not only in the region but throughout the country. And we want to do that through teaming and mentorship. And I totally believe that inclusion is very important, but teaching a business how to be an effective business is just as important as well. Inclusion will take you to a certain point, and effective mentorship will help you get there. We believe that diversity matters. It's very similar to the City of Philadelphia's cause, just as the administration does, and our largest client does as well, Philadelphia International Airport. There's an exciting time for businesses in the engineering and construction field, and there's a spot in that mission to prove such diversity. Leaving a small family environment and growing into a large firm at this point is most fulfilling for me, but when you look back in the 28 years, if it was called MBEC or OEO, they were the family that supported us day in and day out whenever we needed anything. And that's part of our culture. While we may not have a 25-year goal yet, strategic acquisitions Mergers of equals, organic growth will help the firm achieve our 10-year plan of $150 million in revenue. And while numbers are great, that only comes with providing the best service you have to your clients, surrounding yourself with good people, and having sponsorship from the local, state, and federal agency level to prove that diversity matters. Thank you.
How are you doing? I promised Angela to be brief no matter how long it takes. First of all, good morning, maybe good afternoon now. I'm Mike Pearson of Union Packaging, founder, president, blah, blah, blah. But my role this morning is on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and representing Rob Wonderling as well as our chair of the Diversity Committee, Nolan Atkinson. And hopefully we are helping to contribute to making the city more open to opportunity for businesses of color. And there are some initiatives coming up which I hope will allow us all to enjoy the Pope coming as well as the Democratic National Convention. So keep our eyes on business. And I want to thank Mayor Nutter and Angela for landing two things that are going to all help us grow. They do need packaging, so keep me in mind. All right, so the real reason I'm up here is to introduce a dynamic CEO who happens to be a woman, right? So she gets to inspire other women to lead businesses and grow them. Julie is president and CEO of Arbil, and we're fast friends. I met her this morning. She is president and CEO of Arbil, a premier provider of safety products and educational services, dedicated to keeping workers safe. In essence, business owners, she helps keep our TCIRs down so that we don't get in trouble on our workers' comp. So I love her already. Copeland has driven Arbil's strategic and expansive growth since taking her current role in 2005 and expanded the company's business to a national footprint, adding its own safety product line, TrueLine, and Vantage Consulting and Educational Services. Julie was named one of the top innovative leaders of 2015 by Real Leaders magazine. She's a board member of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council and just returned from that conference in Baltimore, so thank you for being here. And she is also part of the National Association of Manufacturers and Young Presidents Organization, and finally the Committee of 200. She's not partaking in this March Madness because she has got her MBA from Temple and her undergraduate degree from Syracuse. So I guess we'll be rooting for Villanova as a Penn grad. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you to all of you for your passion, your dedication, all that you do to promote minority and women-owned businesses. I am so grateful and thankful for the opportunities that your work has presented to me. Thank you. Thank you. So I am Julie Copeland, President and CEO of Arbil. Thank you for that kind introduction. And at Arbil, we want corporate and government clients to think differently about safety, not just about the products, but the approach which drives safety and savings. Our mission is to reduce injuries in the workplace so that employees can return home safely every day to their families. We achieve this by identifying vulnerabilities and creating a plan for action to keep workers safe, serving as their trusted advisor to organizations that share in the goal of reducing workplace injuries. 3 million injuries a year at an average cost of $99,000 is too high by any measurement. Arbil leads the way in reducing this impact on our clients' businesses, their morale, and their communities. Arbil is leading the way where safe environments are being created in factories, laboratories, utilities, and government.
from the dirtiest industrial plants to the most immaculate pharmaceutical lab. Our bill has a brand promise like no other. We commit to a minimum of a 10% reduction in injuries. We are the only safety company that does anything like this. It is our passion, it is our commitment that drives us to help more than 300,000 workers every day return home safely. And now I want to share with you a personal story about how my city of Philadelphia and our bill came to become partners. 4 years ago, I had the distinct pleasure of meeting Angela Dalburton, Executive Director of the OEO. And Angela and I met at a regional partner organization to WeBank, the organization that I just came from last night, at the local council, WeBank, led by Executive Director Jerry Swift. WeBank is the national certifying organization for women-owned businesses. And Jerry Swift runs our local chapter, which offers the actual certification services as well as networking events for women business enterprises. At one of these wonderful events, I had the distinct pleasure of hearing from Angela and some of her goals for the city as she shared today. We followed up with a face-to-face meeting at her office where she walked me through the entire process. And our bill was then armed with the information to prevail as the City of Philadelphia's safety provider. I am proud and I am honored to enjoy this partnership with the city that I believe is the center of the earth, Philadelphia. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you about my company, and I'm very proud of the partnership that I share with the City of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone who has spoken. The mayor had to run. He actually has another press conference with the Secretary of Education, I think, next. And so he's running a little in between schedules there. I want to summarize, and I was going to just talk about a look ahead and towards the future and what you should be focused on. But I think if you take just a few pointers from the companies that have spoken here today, there is absolutely nothing more that I can add. You'll be a success. And so I'm going to cut my comments short and just say we need to continue to build sustainable, cross-generational businesses that pass the torch from one generation to the next. Businesses must develop strategies that move beyond race and beyond gender. Melvin Gravely II, in his book, What is the Color of Opportunity, wrote, "If you want to be the best, you do what the best do." And I think we've heard from the best today. And so I'm just going to acknowledge our alliance partners who work with the city to make sure that our supplier diversity programs and their supplier diversity programs are creating the demand that you should be preparing yourself to respond to. So the University of Pennsylvania, I saw Glenn here, Drexel University and Temple University, that's the critical mass that we're working with, and the Comcast and others, to say, what does your diversity program look like and what should it look like? And if it looked like we wanted it to look like, could the market respond? We need you to say yes to that. And so the comments that you and suggestions that you received today should help you on your way. So in closing, I want to thank the mayor who had to run. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Alan Greenberger for his leadership and support, and the Commerce team who's in and around the group here. I want to acknowledge the OEO team specifically and the specialists that we've talked about earlier. And I want to acknowledge this young lady who just, she is like my mirror, you know? This is LaShonda Tompkins. When you can't get her, LaShonda is, when you can't get me, LaShonda is the go-to person, okay? She's our chief of staff at the Office of Economic Opportunity, and she is working it, right? Okay. So with that, I just want to again acknowledge those who inspire us daily, like the OEO Advisory Board, members of the Mayor's Commission of Advisory on Construction Industry Diversity, our cabinet for the Mayor's Economic Opportunity Cabinet, and the City Council's Economic Opportunity Review Committee. We hold hearings once a quarter, and if you look in the annual report, you will see all the websites that document other testimonials from companies who are getting it done right. And so read the annual report, learn about the companies you've heard from today and some other businesses as well. And I'll tell you what KYW says every morning. If you don't see what we're saying, let us know. All right? Thank you very much and happy spring.